Ladies and gentlemen, another very busy week. Let's get right to it. It is
Big Banks.
And it's Stroobs. Time to get going.
Billy Joe shot a man while robbing his castle. Bobby Sue took the money and run. Go on, take the money and run. Go on, take the money and run.
And in the world of 2020 election news, of course, we have Mr. Vermont, Mr. Socialist, Mr. The one who seems to never fade from our memory, Mr. Sanders, Bernie, up there in Vermont. He's, of course, announced that he's running again, and I don't know what his accomplishments are, don't know what he's done, but he plans to make another bid. Very quick fundraising for him. It got off to a fast pace and
real nice
start. Nice little 24, 48 hour span right after his announcement. But when it comes to race relations, when it comes to other items like that, what has he done? Who knows? He was on the popular morning radio show, The Breakfast Club, and here's his take on how his policy impacts are going to play in the black community.
Now, why does it seem like this week you've been kind of dodging the reparations question? Senator Harris and Senator Warren have both kind of spoken out and said that they agree with some form of reparations.
Well, the question is, I'm not dodging the question. The question is, what do we mean by reparations? I mean, it seems to me a lot of people mean a lot of different things. To my mind, it means that we have to deal with the fact that there is enormous disparity between the black community and the white community, and that issue has got to be addressed. And I've indicated to you some of the ways that I think it should be addressed.
Well, I think they mean some type of economic empowerment to the African descendants of slaves.
But what does that mean, economic empowerment? I just talked about the fact that I would do my best to change the banking system to make sure that we end racism, that we pay attention to distressed communities, that people get the loans they need to make the investments they need.
What about straight cash payouts?
No.
How much you want,
You
Charlamagne?
agree with that? Why don't you agree with that?
Well, first of all, you mean just a check to every African American?
Yes.
Well, then there's a check to every Native American who were nearly wiped out when the settlers first came here. I think the way we go forward is to build America together. There are distressed communities, white communities, there are distressed Latino communities. Right now, what you have is a government owned and controlled by big money interests who worries about Wall Street and the drug companies. We're going to change that. And we're going to pay attention to the needs of working families and low-income families in this country in a way that you have never seen.
But this government has also systemically oppressed us in a way that they haven't oppressed other communities. Through slavery, through segregation, now mass incarceration. And I think it should be something done specifically for African Americans.
Well, and all of those issues, all right, we are going to deal with mass incarceration. And we're going to invest, I think at the end of the day, if we end the discrimination that exists in financial services, in health care, in education, if we guarantee health care to all people, if we, and we're working on a particular program, make sure that every person in this country has a job, because there's enough work to be done dealing with climate change, dealing with our crumbling infrastructure, I would suggest to you that not only the African American community, but every community will be a hell of a lot better off than they are today.
Do you think Democrats really believe in reparations for African Americans, or is it just a good talking point for this campaign cycle?
I don't want to speak for other people.
Mm-hmm.
What if
So Bernie, not very accomplished, indirect, not very specific, but the reparations question, he has been pretty consistent. In the lead up to the 2016 elections, the Democratic Party was not as on board with the notion of reparations, but for whatever reason, the introduction of Kamala Harris and the leftward push of the Democrats has got more people interested. Big Banks, what do you say about reparations? What's your take on that?
I mean, reparations, I guess the funny part about it, do you remember the David Chappelle clip? Let's take a look at that.
Hot hand in the dice game, baby girl. This all straight, talking about packety. Now you're looking at the world's richest man, and I'm black. Kiss my black ass, America.
Well, I think what everyone wants to know now is, what are you going to do with all this money?
I'm going to reinvest my money into the community.
Oh, that's a very nice gesture. What were you
So when it goes to reparations, reparations is given in many forms. It don't have to be a cash payout. I'm not looking for a cash payout. I'm looking for equity when it comes to the law. Give me access to the courts, laws, councils, whatever I need to have a great life in the United States. You know, so many blacks are right now just looking for some type of check to actually move their life forward. It's a bad situation. And this, to me, it's bad policy when you pander to a certain group of people. And that's all he's doing.
It does seem like it's nothing more than pandering. When you want to talk about disadvantaged groups over time, there are plenty of examples. The U.S. has a kind of ugly history when it comes to race relations. Exactly. I think programs such as affirmative action, housing programs, and HUD programs that try to kind of level the playing field, I think those are all kind of forms of coming into the 60s Civil Rights Act and those other kind of policy remedies. I think those are in and of themselves acts of kind of reparations, right?
I think reparations actually started in 1965 with Lyndon B. Johnson when he did the Great Society. And he tried to actually fix the problems in the black community, but if you look at statistics and data, he pretty much hurt the black community.
Correct. You made the African American community more dependent upon the state. You removed the father from the home.
Exactly.
All of these other policy prescriptions backfired in a lot of ways, and you saw that the cycle of poverty. You saw the single parent home kind of be the standard, and this is what permeated, and this is what kind of prevailed coming out of the successive decades through the 70s, 80s.
So now, when you look at, if you give somebody a check and you don't teach them how to deal with the money that they're about to receive,
right,
or just the benefits of just giving a better life to actually maintain over a long period of time, it's going to fail regardless. Prime example, Great Society. They gave them checks, they gave them money, they gave them all these subsidies, and then what did happen? It broke the black family down to where two-parent families in the black home is at 22%. Now, it didn't help the white families either, because right now, a two-parent household in the white families at 55%. But we have to look at not so much a giving, also just teaching. And we're doing a piss poor job about teaching our people. When I say our people, black people and also white people, just Americans, period, in today's time, how to build generational wealth, how to manage the finances you have. And understand that the United States is a great and big country. You don't have to live in the city you was born in.
Correct.
I don't live in the city that I was born in, and Screws don't either. So, but we took advantage of the opportunities to move, and that's one thing about
huge social mobility in this country that people understate, and you're not going to tie it all into just the color of your skin. Just because you grew up in rural South Carolina and I grew up in a small city in California does not necessarily. Those are the more prevalent factors, right? Those are the kind of individual characteristics and traits that might be more impactful in your scenario versus just skin color.
What did Ben Shapiro say? There's 3 ways to stay out of poverty. Number 1, don't have any kids before you graduate high school.
Graduate high school. Stay out the criminal justice system. Correct. Don't get arrested.
And get married. 2 incomes is always better than 1.
Correct. If you have a kid, do get married.
Yeah.
And right, those are pretty simple ways to avoid drugs and alcohol, or don't be dependent upon those ways. Those are all very easy ways to succeed in American society.
Yeah.
This is a great system, and this is a phenomenal country because of those very reasons. You are able to climb up that social ladder. Are you going to become a millionaire or a billionaire in your lifetime without a little bit of luck? Probably not. But the ability to kind of propel yourself and get yourself up into the middle class is totally understated by the left, and this kind of socialist push amongst the leftists, amongst these newfangled Democrats, is very scary because they don't believe in this kind of thing. And about reparations, who really would be entitled to a cash payout or more kind of embedded reparations program? If you look at all the oppressed Native Americans, I mean, yes, they've got their casino rights and things like that on their reservations and on their territories. The Irish were discriminated against at one point. We interned Japanese Americans, and you had the Latino Bracero program and things like that. Were kind of so you have a lot of instances. You have
a lot of grievances.
A lot of grievances, but these programs that did spring about in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, were not supposed to last forever, and those were equivalent to reparations in a sort of way, right?
I think reparations will actually, bankrupt the United States. And then even you, Stroops, I mean, you can say, I got 1% of blacks in me some kind of way, and you might have a claim to reparation.
Would Barack Obama would be entitled to a reparations check if we're going to go that way?
Kamala Harris?
But the lower class kind of, don't want to say redneck or white trash. The family living out there in the Appalachians
Yes.
in either a mobile home or in some really worn down. I don't know how you can kind of devise that and make it strictly based upon skin color. That is the problem with programs like affirmative action. It doesn't take into account the class structure and the major discrepancies and disparities in that sort of way. But we'll see. Bernie Sanders, I don't know what he's up to. I don't. He thinks he knows what to do with your money better than you do, Banks. What do you say about that?
No, I like my money in my pocket.
There you go. And this is the same Bernie Sanders who was actually kicked out of a commune, apparently, allegedly, back in the 70s because he was sitting writing erotica novels instead of actually working like everyone else. So doesn't know a damn thing about work, doesn't know a damn thing about money, how things are. It's all gripe. The system is broken. Banks control things. Not a great platform for common sense thinkers. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Any other comments, Big Banks?
No, just if he just keep running that platform, we just know that Trump is going to get another 4 years.
We'll get an 8-year, 2-term Trump presidency. I think Big Banks will be quite happy about that. So
Greatly pleased.
there you go. We'll catch you next time, folks. Thank you very much.
Peace.
This is a story about Billy Joe and Bobby Sue, two young lovers with nothing better